I am super excited to be here with you. The conversation of really explained was just so timely from the discussions we were having in our CEO group and even in our larger cohort here in Charlotte, as well as the post that was in our discussion forum online at the Enterprise System about had anyone ever dealt with the imposter syndrome. And I contemplated whether or not I should respond to that because it's one of those things that we talk about kind of independently in smaller groups, but kind of putting it out there in a forum with a whole other level of transparency, right? And so I decided that I would go ahead and respond to that. And interestingly enough, after I responded to that, a few people emailed me independently to say, thank you so much. That was exactly what I needed to hear. So I know that people need to talk about this. I know that it impacts so many of us. And it's an area that we don't always feel comfortable talking about. So I do want to just hold the space for this conversation to be a sacred space. Don't feel like you're going to be judged or whatever it is you might want to ask or just bring up as a discussion your point of view. We're very, very open to the entire process. So I think a good place to start will just be like, what is the imposter syndrome, or what is it that happens when this starts to creep up with you? So a lot of times people start to feel like they're going to be found out. Oh my God, I'm not worthy of that. I don't know if they're going to think that I'm smart enough to have received that. We don't know how to receive accolades, or we don't think that we deserve the praise that we've just received. Could also be you feel like you're an amateur, right? And you just begin to question any and everything it is that is around your thoughts, your ideas, or your project. So it's not even that you're questioning yourself so much as it is to the actual things that you're working on. The problem is that we don't always separate ourselves from our ideas and our thoughts and our projects. So then you go, well, I am not worthy of not the project itself or whatever it is that you're working on. So I just wanted to make sure that we all kind of like set the stage that this is the framework that we're going to be working behind. And you're not alone. And so there are so many famous people who have actually, you can go out there and find posts that they posted about the imposter syndrome or being found out. So Maya Angelou, of all people, who's such an amazing hero, Shiro, posted, there's a quote up there she has, and it says something along the lines of, I've written 11 books, and I'm so scared that at some point somebody's going to find me out and think that this is all for play, or something along those lines. And you think about someone like Maya Angelou, who so many people look up to, and you think, how could she have written that? How could she be facing that with all the praise that she's received? Even she felt like she was going to be found out. And so I just want you to know that it is okay that you have these occasional feelings about, what it is you're going through. I do want you to think through how it might be impacting you in ways that you maybe hadn't even thought about. So when you have these negative kind of beliefs about yourself or the things that you're working on, what's it really costing you? What's the price tag it costs you in your business? What's it cost you in your relationships? How is it impacting everyone else around you? And so I just want to kind of give you that again as framework of like where you really want to begin to look to see how it's being identified in other relationships. So then it's like, when this happens, you got to be the inspector and know what the triggers are, what's the environment. So is your breathing changing? Or is your pulse really speeding up? Are you sweating a lot? Are you running to the bathroom every 5 minutes? These are things that our nervous system shows us there's a problem. We are in reaction mode, we are in fight or flight mode, and we got to fix this. And so you begin to start to notice things and shifts will change. You got to identify too, like, you got to be the doctor. What's happening with me? Why am I feeling this way? And you got to be able to assess, is it typically when I'm around a certain group of people? Is it around a certain type of project? What is it that causes this to happen? And I want you to know that it actually it stems from, your belief system. Sometimes we put them on ourselves. Other times people may have said to us, you're not worthy of X, Y, and Z. You don't deserve X, Y, and Z. Maybe you feel guilty because you have acquired more or have achieved more than other people around you in your community, in your household, in your family, or at work, or whatever that might look like. But that negative self-talk is really what kind of beats you down. So you start to have this conversation internally, right? And you're like, well, somebody else should have been chosen for that award, or somebody else is more worthy of that. Why did I get it? And you got to be able to recognize when these things start to creep up. Lori, was there something you wanted to chime in and say? You look like you wanted to say something for a second there.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I know I'm nodding my head a lot as I'm listening, and I can't see others. But I wonder if we don't necessarily have to go around to everyone, but if there's anyone that wants to share just a couple words about why you joined the call today, or if you can relate to some of the kind of feelings and reactions that Taya has mentioned already, and if there's a specific situation that you know of in yourself that kind of makes you react like that. So I'd love to just kind of open it up for a second and see if there's anybody that can kind of relate or respond to what you've said so far. Don't forget to unmute yourself.
And please don't be shy. I really do want to know what your stories are and what you've gone through or are going through, because maybe one of us can share something to help you get through whatever it is. So please feel like you can share.
Yeah. Hi, Laura and Taya. This is Bonnie. Hi, Laura. I haven't talked to you guys for a while. Yeah, it has. So I'm so glad that you're having this call, Taya. I did not even know what that syndrome was. I actually had to look it up. And then I went, oh my goodness, this is me. Because I procrastinate a lot and I could never figure out why. And it was kind of like this perfectionism, but I was also afraid that I wouldn't make it perfect as I thought it should be in other people's eyes. And so I would procrastinate and not do things or wait till the last minute. So, and I'm sure a lot of people have had that issue. So, and I think that comes, maybe from childhood a little bit, but, and other people chime in.
That's an excellent point. That's actually what I have struggled with. Again, I wanted you to kind of think through, and you guys think about opening up your mind while I'm speaking, but over the years, there have been so many amazing projects that I have come up with, sketch the whole thing out, from budgeting to marketing, and then I thought, nah, it's not good enough. And just completely didn't launch it. And so I want you to think about how it's affecting you, even from a monetary perspective. Like, did I just lose thousands of dollars because I didn't launch this idea? So again, it's probably showing up in other ways that you hadn't even thought about.
I think going along with that, the worst thing is, and you've probably had this happen, is that I've come up with an idea, I share it with people, big mistake maybe, and then I'm afraid to go forward, but then all of a sudden it's there, someone else has taken it.
That's right.
And you're just sitting there going, oh my goodness, why did I do that? What's wrong with me?
Absolutely, Bonnie. I totally resonate with that. I totally resonate with that. Great. So, is there anyone else before we kind of move on? Okay, I'm going to keep going, but Laura, you pop in if you have questions or you have anything that you want to add. So we talked about, where this stems from, and I want you to know that this is definitely a situation of subconscious programming. And you may or may not know that 95 to 99% of what we do every day is done subconsciously. We literally only use 1 to 5% of our conscious brain every single day. So from childhood to even now, yesterday, what happened? The more so let me start here. Every time you have a thought, you change your cell structure. You tell your body, this is how we respond to this type of behavior. This is how we respond to this type of a situation. So if you take each of those negative thoughts and you're having those conversations with you, or someone has told you something and you actually believed it and received it, it has now programmed you. So now whenever something comes up, your subconscious mind says, well, this is how we reacted to that the last time. Now this is how we need to react this time. And the longer it's been there, think of it as a seed. That seed has been planted. The longer it's been there, the more abundant it becomes. So now you've got like a whole forest filled with all of this negative thought around something that isn't even real. The other thing you should know about your subconscious is that it can't decipher what's real from what's not. And so what I want you to remember is that anything that you have been able to subconsciously allow in as programming can be, or learning can be unprogrammed or unlearned. And so, when you look at addictive behavior, for instance, when you look at how to remove that behavior, you have to replace the negative behavior with something positive. And so I want you to think about what can you do when those things come up. When you start to feel the butterflies in your belly, when you start to hear that negative voice inside your head, what is it that you can do to try to obliterate that? And that's really what the basis of the conversation today is. So recognizing that and then understanding that, again, sometimes it's you. It can't be other people that may have told you, you're not worthy or whatever. But a lot of times we just kind of put ourselves in that position. And so you got to think about, well, why do I always put myself below everyone else? Why am I not able to receive praise? And someone told me I was amazing, but I said, well, no, all I did was this. Why did you lower yourself and lower your standards in order to get through that conversation? What was it you were so scared of? And so a lot of times the imposter syndrome has a lot to do with fear, and then Bonnie brought up perfectionism, and then because of that we procrastinate, and it spirals, and it will go on for years if it's not addressed. And so Lori talked a little bit about, reconnecting with your why factor. So I'm going to kind of get into how we address this imposter syndrome. So we know that in order to fix it, it's not success. This group, for instance, everyone on this phone call has been vetted out, screened, applied for something, has a business that's amazing, because we wouldn't otherwise be in this program and be in this shared community. You are already successful people. And I just told you about the quote from Maya Angelou, who was extremely successful. So what doesn't fix this is more success, right? Although we should always continue to aim for more success, that's not what fixes the imposter syndrome. What fixes the imposter syndrome is one acknowledging that, hey, these things exist and we need to figure out, again, where it's happening, why it's happening, when it's happening, so you can really tap into that. But I think also reconnecting with the why. So I do this exercise when I'm teaching, usually like a half-day workshop called the why factor. And the why factor is the intersection between who you are, what it is you want to leave behind in the world, and how you do that. And that is what it becomes the culture of your business. And when you typically ask people who you are, they say, oh, well, I'm a teacher, or I'm an event planner, or I'm a this. But that's not who you are, that's what you do. And so who are you is the real question. So when you can tap into who you are and why you started the business and what you want to leave behind this legacy and what impact you're having in the community, then you've got your why factor that you can keep in front of you. And so once we kind of go through that exercise, I typically will give people like a very bright colored postcard or something along those lines that they can keep up in front of them, because we need to look at it and be reminded of it on a regular basis of why you even started the business in the first place. And your team members, if you are not a solopreneur, need to also know this is why we're here. This is what we do. And if the people you hire, the people that work with you, the people you surround yourself with don't fit into that, somebody's in the wrong space. And so having everything kind of be aligned and everybody working towards the same goal is one way that we learn how to combat this imposter syndrome. Another thing is leveraging what we have. And I know that everyone here is, again, so amazing. What awards have you won this year? What have your clients told you you are amazing at? What have they expressed their gratitude for? What publications have you been featured in? What new hire did you just make that took you to a whole new level? Like, there are all these things I know that you are doing and being recognized for that you probably just accept it in that moment and then keep it moving. So what I want you to do is learn how to celebrate. I want you to make sure that at least every quarter you take a pause to go back and revisit what it is we did for the quarter. How did we do it? If you want to document those wins, you want to document those successes, and you want to have it in black and white so that as you progress and you have a story that you need to tell, you now have this whole list of things that shows how amazing you are, how amazing the company is, and now you can compare it to your why factor that you wrote down and make sure that everything is kind of moving in the same direction. So tell me what your passion is. Why did you start your business?
Yeah, I actually think I'm going to call some people out. If you don't want to respond, that's completely fine. But I'd actually love to hear from most people on the call that why. In like one sentence, you know, why did you start your business? Kimberly, are you still there? Would you like to kick us off? And just remember to unmute yourself before you speak. She's opting out. Luke, do you want to share your why?
Can you guys hear me? Hello?
Oh, yep. Hi, Kimberly.
Okay.
We can hear you now.
I'm sorry. I was trying to play with the technology.
That's okay.
Okay. So, yeah, my reason, I remember and it's funny, you guys are bringing back a lot of old memories and feelings as we were having this discussion. I can so relate. But I was, during the telecom era in the 90s, there was a lot of layoffs. I was impacted. And after experiencing that, I realized there really was no loyalty anymore, that companies were doing what they needed to do based upon the economy. So with that, I stepped out on faith and started my company. And my biggest why is, you know, really wanting to have that freedom to be my own, you know, to have my own business and to be my own boss. And that's really what drives me every day, is just that feeling of freedom. And I've never looked back since then. So.
That
in a
is
nutshell,
amazing. Yeah. How long has it been for you since you've been in business?
12 years.
Oh my goodness! Congratulations.
Incredible.
Well, see, here's where the imposter syndrome comes into play, because, you know, I'm always I'm very competitive in a sense. So I'm always looking at other businesses and thinking, man, I should be there. And why am I not there? I've been in business this amount of years. And so that's where I feel like an imposter, because I feel like I should be doing more. I should have achieved more. So I guess my question, and I guess once you kind of do a roundtable and have other people talk, is how do you overcome that feeling, you know, of always feeling like there's more that you could be doing, when people look at you and say, man, you're doing great.
Yes. Yep. I will totally come back to that question. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Luke?
Yeah, great. Yeah, thanks for asking. Happy to share. I had to also figure out the technology on my side. It's good. It's good. Just got to figure it out. So, the mission, the reason why myself and my business partner started our company is we want to reduce the impact that humans have on the only planet we live on a day-to-day basis. And we do that through helping businesses reduce the energy that they use and manage the energy that they use better, right? So that's why also I really don't like having other people tell me what to do as far as the day-to-day. I could never have been in the military.
That's great.
Thank
That's
you.
great. And how long has it been for you? How long have you had your business?
We started almost 7 years ago now. In December, it'll be 7 years.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. And the challenge that we live in is we are, I would say, not just a small business, but in the realm of very small business in the industry that we play in, meaning that our competitors are nationwide companies or multinational companies that are capitalized in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and we're 13 people now. So we've squeaked into an industry that is, it's a it's a B2B industry, and we've squeaked that, but we're at this, yeah, it's a growth problem, and recognizing that we belong at the table, not we feel like we're subpar, is a challenge.
Yeah. Okay. I understand that. Awesome.
Yeah, let's keep going around. Bonnie, do you want to share your why?
There you go. Much like Kimberly, I was also in the telecom business for a very long time. I worked for Bell Labs, and was a manager, and we laid off a lot of people. So I started my business almost 20 years ago. I was still working for Bell Labs at the time, but it was truly to have control over your life. I mean, other people could dictate to you, like if you had money to eat with. I mean, that's pretty bad. But we're also in we're kind of a solopreneur. So like Luke, we don't have very many people that work with us, and we're moving into more social media and online selling. So that really, we're in whole areas that, I mean, the companies that we're competing against are absolutely huge. And they're much like Luke said, they're nationwide, worldwide. And so that's always an issue. But I love what we do. It's always been my passion. We're in the horse tack business, so it's very unusual. Not too many people. But we're making a name for ourselves. We've got a registered trademark now, and we're making products, and so we're starting to really come out of the woodwork, so to speak. So it's kind of nice. Yes.
Thank you. And how long were you in business?
We started in 1998, October 31st. We just celebrated 20 years. Yeah. But I worked part-time for Bell Labs because the imposter syndrome kicked in. It's like, oh no, you cannot give up your day job. Okay. So really, literally, I could say that we've been in business full time for 5 years because I finally said, I've got to let go of the other stuff, and it's taking too much. And I still get drawn back in. Because you're always thinking that, oh no, I need to do this, I need to bring this money in, so you lose focus. So that's one thing I think happens with all of us, is we lose focus and kind of go down the wrong road. So.
Thank you. Those are such amazing stories, and I wonder if you all actually, those of you who shared, just come back on real quick and tell me if you feel like your team knows your why factor. Like, do they know if that integrated into your company culture? Or is it just your why factor and no one else knows about it? I think Kimberly's coming back to you.
Yeah, this is something that this is something that we've communicated to staff, and they are definitely all bought into it. And we honestly don't hire any staff unless they express interest in that as part of just their personal push.
Okay, that's great. That's great that you're tying it all in. What are ways that you ensure that they are in sync with what that culture looks like? Are there like behavioral questions you ask, or is it just a conversation?
No, it has to come up in conversation, and it's not something that we'll ask them, but they often express an interest in it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely an industry that is beyond view most of the time, so it requires a specific, I'm going to say, interest by people, meaning, when you go to flip your light switch on, you just assume it's going to come on, especially in this country, right? But we're part of that network that makes sure that that happens every day. So if people can recognize that and see the infrastructure that is required to be in place and the management, in order to keep that infrastructure operating is in place, like once they ask some questions about our company and what we do, if it stops at that and they don't dive any further, then they start asking more about the job and the details and pay and all that. I'm like, okay, well, clearly you don't have that interest.
That's right.
But if they dive down that rabbit hole, I want them to dive down that rabbit hole after that interest. It may not happen in the first conversation. It might happen in a follow-up, right? But the point is they have to recognize that and bring that to us. I'm not going to ask them. I'm not going to drive. I think that defeats the purpose.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that, Luke.
I love that question about how you share your why with your staff, or if you share your why with your staff. Blake or Willie, do you two have anything to add? I know that there are a couple folks dialed in on the phone too. I just can't see your name, so feel free to jump in also.
Yeah, that's while people are thinking about answering that question, that is definitely something that has come up with some of our clients as well as in class. So we graduate December the 20th. We're almost through here in Charlotte. But we are kind of in the area of the class where we're talking about culture. And it's interesting how many of us have gone through, and I've been in business almost 13 years now, and it seems like most of you have been in business for a very long time, that we don't always infuse our why and the reason we started the business, the freedom and all these other reasons. We don't infuse that into the culture, so nobody knows but us. And I think the universe will give you what you need as long as you profess that that's what you need. But if nobody knows, if your team doesn't know how to support you and nobody knows that you don't really want to work in the business as much, and you prefer to work on the business so you can really grow and do other things with it, they don't really know how to support you. And so we've just recently recognized that maybe some of us are the wrong people because we didn't carry through the culture. We didn't infuse that into everything it is that we do. We didn't interview based on that. And so that's a really big piece of sometimes why you even question yourself, because sometimes we know we don't have the right people, but we just try to accept it. And we keep rolling with it because no one has time to hire new, or you don't want to hurt anyone's feelings because now you have a personal relationship, or they just may not be supporting you in the best way possible. And you can't grow. You can't compete with the national companies by yourself. You can't compete with mediocre people. So there are so many other things that need to be infused that we just haven't. And mostly because we just hadn't thought about that. You just think they naturally come, and that's just not how it works. So the culture piece has been a really big piece that's come up. Okay, so I think where we go from here is just kind of tapping back into how to leverage some of the things that you've been successful at or have been recognized for in this past year. Is, how do you utilize that? So have you written like blog posts about it? Have you put it in your newsletter? Do your customers know? Because you just never know who's going to make that next awesome referral for you. Is there a radio show you can go on to talk about it? Is there a business journal that wants to know about your successes that you can put that in? Is there an ebook that you can generate that you can have people subscribe to and download? Can you host a roundtable to talk about how you got there, what you did, what did the team look like? Get the community involved. If there's something else you can do and other people that you can bring in to really shine the spotlight on what it is to accomplish. And that's what I want you to think through. What we do is a wall of fame. And so we have a huge wall, has a bunch of gold coins on it. And so whenever we get put into a publication or someone just did something really amazing, we have all of that stuff documented on one wall. And sometimes some of the coins have to get swapped out, and that's a nice feeling to have. Like there's so many, we got to pull some off to put new ones up, right? But what it does is it just shows you the magnitude of everything that's been accomplished in sometimes a very short span. But it's nice to be able to look at that and just kind of see everything that's been done, all the community impact that you're making. Because as much as we would like to, as much as we don't think we compete with some of these national companies, I promise you sometimes your ethics and the character and the expertise that we have far exceeds what a national company does. So to answer the question that came up a little bit ago, it's actually good to look at your competition. That's very healthy. So I would be looking at how they do it. What kind of people do they have? What's their model? What's their website look like? How does it differ from what my website looks like? How are they charging? You might even task one of your staff members to do a little bit of shopping. Have them call that customer as though they're potential, and have them go through that process of what does it look like through the sales process. What are they doing that we're not doing, and how can we cash in on that? So competition is amazing because then you have somewhat of a blueprint to look at. And so I would pick my favorite 3 competitors, and I want to know everything they're doing. So I'm like on their social media. I might be subscribed to their newsletter. I might even attend their events. I want to know what they're doing and how they're doing it. And the other thing I want to say is people are more willing to share than you would ever imagine they are. There are people that, when I started the business back in 2006, came to me, same line of business, same like zip code, that were like, listen, I'm just getting started, and I just want to ask you 2 questions. And I was one of the 2 people who was willing to sit down and talk to them about what I had done, how we had done it. And to this day, 13 years later, they are so grateful. They bring it up every time I see them because I was willing to share. And I promise you that if you go and talk to some of these larger companies, they don't necessarily, they may see you with competition, but they're also willing to share something, not the secret sauce, but able to share enough that you can take that and apply that into what you're doing in your business, and make it even more amazing than it already is. So is that something you've given thought to before? Have you thought about talking to some of your competitors or even collaborating on something? Maybe there's some piece of what they do that you might be able to participate in or sponsor or anything along those lines. Is that something you've given thought to before? Anyone can answer that.
Hi, this is Kimberly. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, that's actually the next phase that we're trying to move into, is to do more partnering. And so with that, it definitely is stepping out of our comfort zone, but we realize the value of that, especially when we're going after, various contracts and such, and we don't have that period of performance for the job. So that's actually something that we are looking into. And then as part of just kind of going through the NRI, through the Emerging Leadership Program, that was a very eye-opening aspect to me, is just, like you said, looking at your competition, really understanding, what it is that they're doing, and in essence, helping you to develop more sound, processes, or just, to kind of enhance your own business based upon looking at what your competitors are doing. And I don't think, I know I wasn't being very diligent about that. I was kind of working in a silo and doing my day-to-day, but that's something that I see the value in doing that now.
That's great. That's great. Lonnie, were you get ready to say something? Okay.
Yeah, I like totally agree with Kimberly. I think once you get out of the kind of first 2 years of like, oh my gosh, I got to get this done, and you start opening your eyes. I think every time I'm at an event and my competitors are there, I'm literally learning something from them, like how they do something different, or the software they're using. I'll ask, what are you using there? And they'll tell me. And so you're just like, oh wow, I haven't heard of that. And so you write everything down, and it's really interesting because your mind just opens up, and you can become a sponge and take all this in. Not that all of it is useful, but a lot of times you can look at things and utilize it for yourself. So, and much like Kimberly, we're going to have to become pen pals. Much like Kimberly, we're starting to partner. Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, we got just too much going on here that we're similar. So, you know, we started partnering with barns, and for us, that, you know, because our competition is so big, they're in every town, everywhere, and so the only way that we can combat them is to partner up with huge show barns, and so we're actually putting our tax stores into the show barns, and so that way the people don't even have to drive to the store that of our competitors. They can just go right to the store. So yeah. So, and yeah, it's just, you know, instead of being frightened by what your competitors are doing, you need to just calm, take a deep breath, and then analyze what they're doing. And once you do, it's amazing the information you get. So
I totally agree. I have learned a lot from our competitors, and I can't even tell you, like, I just moderated a session here with a colleague of mine who also does event planning just on Sunday. And she asked me to moderate her panel. There was a group of amazing experts, and we never looked at it as competition, and the people in the room were event planners. So it was a session for planners. And some of the people in the room we had actually collaborated with. We've done events together. I've had them help me when I needed extra help. We've helped them when they needed extra help. And it's just, there's enough pie in the sky for everybody. Like, I always say collaboration over competition. And I know everyone doesn't feel that way, but I do feel like when we win together, the win is even greater than it could be alone. So we may be competitors in some way, but there are also some differentiators. My personality and what I bring and what my team brings is different from someone else's company that may be very similar work. They're going to hire me because they know me and they like me, and they like the way we've done business in the past. And that's how you win. That's how you get into these other doors. So that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So something else that I want you to tap into is your sense of play. And this is kind of going to segue into what we are going to talk about with the superheroes. So when you were a kid and you were outside with your friends, like, you know, our generations, we actually played outside. These younger generations, they do everything. Like, I have 3 children, 25, 23, and 18, everything. They have no social skills whatsoever. They text in the same room. It's really ridiculous. So when we went outside and when we played, there was a level of playfulness that you tapped into where you didn't even recognize yourself. You became someone or something else. You became the hero that you were playing, or you completely took on the character or the role of whatever it is you all were doing. That's the level of playfulness you have to bring into what it is you're doing. And so this segues into the superhero. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my superhero story. When I was a kid, my full name is Tywanda, but everyone calls me Taya. And my family used to call me Wonder Woman. And as part of that, they bought me the whole Wonder Woman get up. So I had the boots, I had the cape, I had the entire Wonder Woman get up. And my family called me Wonder Woman for as long as I can remember as a kid. And I didn't realize how impactful and how important that would be until I got into my 20s, when I was going through so many things at the same time. So I was preparing back in 2005, preparing to go through a divorce, and being a single mom of 3 children. I had lost my job as a business manager. I was downsized, and ironically enough, my position was to talk to the big companies like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and, you know, all these big companies who were getting ready to terminate or to downsize hundreds or even thousands of people. It was my job to talk to them. So when I got downsized, I was like, well, who's going to talk to me now? I was preparing to go through all of those things, and I was preparing to lose my dad from colon cancer. All of these things happening at the same time. And in the midst of all of this, I thought it was life to start a business. And it wasn't until then that I recognized how important that superhero was going to be, because there are all kinds of questions I had. There were all kinds of, I guess, check marks and benchmarks I tried to set myself up against and say, well, I should because of this, or I shouldn't because I don't have that qualification. I've never run a business, but I always knew that I would start a business. It's in every interview I've ever done in corporate. I said by the time I was 28, I would start it, and I was 27. So be careful what you say, because once you put it out there, you will begin to work it into fruition. And in that process, I started the business, and after I got through beating myself up about how much I didn't know about business, I thought, no, I've been an amazing manager. I've gotten the companies that I work for into amazing places, and I'm going to do that for myself. And I needed those superhero powers to get through all of those different things that were happening at the same time. So that's when I evolved from Wonder Woman into Tenacious Taya. And so if we go on my website, the primary website, exceptionalbizsolutions.com, you'll see the story under the About Taya page. You'll see kind of how Wonder Woman started and then evolved into Tenacious Taya, and how I use those superpowers with my clients today, and how I use it with the team, and even for myself when this imposter syndrome creeps up. And so I want you to just think about, we talked a little bit earlier about recognizing the imposter syndrome and how it shows up for you. What superpowers do you need to get through that? So are there any heroes that resonate with you and their powers? Like Wonder Woman has the lasso of truth. Spider-Man has an amazing web, and he can reach into new places and he can create new paths. Incredible Hulk can breathe underwater and he's super strong. Like, what powers do you need to start thinking through how to obliterate this syndrome when it shows up? Just think about it for a minute. I see Bonnie with a big smile. I love it. I love it.
We, at our summit, at Intrise's Summit in 2017, we actually had T-shirts made that said, "What's your superpower?"
Awesome.
And we had a whole session kind of around talking about finding your strengths, relating that to your personal brand. So let's take a minute and go around and just kind of share that superpower, one superpower that you all feel you have, or that you feel you need to overcome imposter syndrome. Bonnie, I'm going to ask you to start because, yeah.
She's got that big smile.
I know. No, I was thinking, it was like, ever since I can remember, I've been into horses. I mean, I don't think I even told Laura this, but I was an alternate to the U.S. Olympic team for horseback riding. So, I mean, that happened at 16. I mean, and so I was a little young to do it, but I was on the alternate team at that time, many, many years ago now. So, my superhero isn't really a person, but it's more of an animal, which is the unicorn. And the unicorn is just, to me, I mean, you'll see it on our website all over the place because it's such a mythical being, and it just gets through everything. Any mist, it just breaks down barriers. It breaks down everything. It makes you happy. It makes you smile. It does amazing things. It's mystical. You can't put your hands on it. All of these things. And that's kind of, I always kind of look at this unicorn and go, okay, maybe they're not around now, but they can do anything. So that's kind of
I love that.
Yeah. So, but you'll see them on our Facebook page and everything. We actually had two of my friends' grandkids dress up in princess outfits, and we dressed up a pony with a unicorn and with all the waves and the whole bit, and that's our Facebook picture.
Oh my gosh, I love that you're so excited when you think about it, when you talk about it, and I love that you've infused it in your media, your website, your social media. That's the happy place, right? Like when you have this imposter syndrome creep up, you got to bring on the spirit of the unicorn.
Right, exactly. It is.
Exactly.
And it does. It helps keep, because I just saw this web thing on, how to make your post read. And a lot of them are, you got to keep them happy. You got, if you're coming there, nobody's going to read those. It's got to be, honest and true and from the heart and, happy. And even if you're saying a bad thing, it's still got to have that factor to it, that concern. So that to me is a unicorn. Okay.
I love it.
Next.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I wonder if you'll even share like why the unicorn, because people see it and they may associate it with your brand, but I wonder if people know why you chose the unicorn. So maybe it's an opportunity for you to share that on your website and in other places.
Yeah. Well, again, in the horse community, and I'm sure like with Luke and Kimberly, you know, you have all these words that you use. That's kind of your thing that you use within your businesses. And the unicorn is known as that. You know, I mean, everybody is saying, I'm in search of a unicorn. I mean, and so we all know what that is. You know, it's this mystical thing that really never you can grasp onto, but helps you get through everything. And so you'll see it on all of the horseback riders things. I'm in search of a unicorn now. You know, so it's very well known for us. It's very well known, you know, what that means. So, but I think I'm going to put a little note on there.
I would. I tell my whole story of how my parents called me Wonder Woman and how I use that now and how it's evolved. And I think it's worth telling the story.
That is great. I think I'll do that. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Who else will share with us?
Superpower, strength. It's good to call it out, right? That's
absolutely, because that's the energy you need to kind of obliterate that negative self-talk that you use when you torture yourself. You need a superhero to step in and say, no, that's not what's happening.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if this is, I can't remember if she's a villain or a superhero, but you know, I'm a huge like Marvel fan, and I'm really sad about the death of Stan Lee. But Mirage, she's the blue character with the orange hair. And the thing about Mirage this is my superpower that I relate with, is creativity and thinking outside the box. And so I look at Mirage, and she's, well, I guess, is it Mystique or Mirage? I may be confusing, but she's a blue lady. Just kind of like, just the ability to kind of be able to morph. And her power is that she can morph and be anybody that she comes in contact with, you know. Yeah. And so that's kind of where I've noticed that about myself, that depending upon what industry I'm in, because I've spanned across three different industries in my career, I've been able to use the basic skills that I have to basically, just be able to do the job no matter what I'm doing, whether it's technical or administrative or so forth, whether it's in the financial industry or telecom or, you name it. So that's where I relate to the creativity aspect, or the elusiveness, and kind of like the ability to morph to be who I need to be with Mystique. I think her name is Mystique.
I love that. I love it. And again, I would, if there is a t-shirt, you know how Superman like opens up his shirt, he's got the big S on his chest. Like if there's something you can have to remind you of that, like that's a really powerful place to be at. So whatever your superhero is, whatever those superpowers are, wear it and wear it proudly. I think it's amazing, and I hope you'll share these with whomever it is, you're speaking to. It's a great conversation starter. I actually have a Wonder Woman nightgown. So it has the cape on the back of it and everything. Like I am fully embodying.
That is cool. That is cool.
Fully embodying all of those characteristics, because it feels, being a business owner is heavy. And sometimes you feel like, I don't know how I'm going to get through it.
Well, if you're having a bad day, do you go like put that on and then go around the office?
I literally do. Ask my daughters. I still got an 18-year-old at home. I literally go fly into the house, because playfulness is so important. I promise you, you can't smile and be playful and still be scared.
That's right.
They don't operate in the same place. It's so important to just fully embody whatever it is. And it may not be a superhero that you're used to seeing. Maybe there's something special we haven't even seen yet, or it's a fairy godmother with a wand, or whatever it is, you got to first identify what's showing up for you. And you got to make sure that the superhero that you choose or whatever that is that you need is going to help to balance whatever it is that's stopping you. And that's showing up in all your other relationships. So that's just really most important. Yeah, that's awesome. So let's see. Surrounding yourself with amazing people is always important. The more you can learn and study, always important, because you start to feel like, okay, I got this, I know this, I went and got educated in these things. The superhero pose I love, with the superhero stance, like chest out, elbows out on the hips, legs standing far apart. Before I get ready to do something big, before I go onto a stage, I hit my superhero stance. So it puts me in a better place. And they say if you do it for like 30 to 60 seconds, it actually changes the entire energy of your body. Go Google it and do research on it. But the superhero stance definitely does work. And then the, what I do, like, so sales is scary for me. I'm not a salesperson. We are an international business management and event production agency. So selling is not my thing. It's not my happy place. But I do know that it's part of being a business owner. So when I know I've got to sell, first of all, I had to brand a whole day. So we've got Money Making Monday is when we do our sales call. And before I get ready to make my call, I'm like Beyonce. So I got a whole other alter ego. I'm like dancing and getting into my groove, because I've got to go there in order to give me the courage to get through the sales call. So whatever it is you have to do in whatever area it is you are in your business, you got to do it and you got to rock it out and fully embody whatever it is. Yeah. And I know it's getting down to the.
I just have a really quick share. Actually at Intrise, we had kind of a little pod of desks who every day they had a calendar reminder at about 4 o'clock to do 30 seconds of push-ups, because it was like the end of the day, people's energy is low, they're kind of watching the clock tick down, and the calendar reminder would go off and they would do 30 seconds of push-ups, and then they were just kind of all pumped up to make that last hour really productive. So it's fun to bring your team into it, like you just mentioned, and it really just, it shifts the mood, it gets you refocused, and just ups the energy. So
I think that's a great share. Thank you for saying that. I was going to also recommend exercising and dancing, and I love bringing your team into it to make it fun, and everybody feels like they're included. And again, if that's part of the culture, then that needs to be a regular thing. Hey, in my office, we do 30 seconds of push-ups, because that's how we get our groove on and get the energy back up after a long day. And you gotta know, people have to know, this is what I'm getting into, this is what we do in this office. And I guess what I want to leave you with is just affirmations. We didn't really talk about that too much, but I want you to just, again, if you have negative self-talk, you gotta replace that with something positive. And you gotta reprogram the subconscious. And so affirmations are super important. And so the start of the day and the end of the day is when it's most important, when you rise and before you go to bed, because when you go to bed, thinking about is what you kind of bring into the next day, is what you dream about, is, what you receive into the energy of the next morning. And so one affirmation would be, I will not care about what anybody else thinks about me today. I am my best version. I am the greatest, that I can be in this moment. I am amazing and I deserve the best. And so whatever those affirmations are, again, you got to stand in your power. You got to rock those out, and you have to, your subconscious doesn't know what's real from what's not real. So if you say, this is what it is, this is what it is, it doesn't know until that conscious brain, part of your brain pops up and starts to start filtering, well, we can't do this because of, and we can't launch this yet because it's not perfect. Let's let go of the conscious part. Let's focus more on the reprogramming so that it shows more prominently in all the other activities that you're working on. Yep.
That's great.
Again,
thank you.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, no, it's a wonderful note to end on. And, if that feels indulgent or if that feels uncomfortable, think how often we do the opposite. We have no problem telling ourselves that things aren't going well or that we should be in a different place. So giving yourself 1 or 2 times a day to just tell yourself the opposite thing is not indulgent.
Absolutely.
Necessary.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
And a
I have
reminder to
definitely-
everyone,
oh, mhm.
I love what you said at the very beginning. You know, every single person on this call has been through an Intro's program, which is not easy. That means that you are at a place in your business where you are able to step away for 3 hours every other week. You know, you trusted your team to take over while you were at class. You've reached this point in your business where you are able to step away, where you're able to start to think bigger, where you're able to set these bigger growth goals. So every single person here is incredibly successful already, and that is important to remember.
That's awesome. So I just wanted to give another opportunity for everyone to ask questions. I have so enjoyed being here with you and have enjoyed this conversation. Is there anything else you want to leave as a comment or any questions? And if not, I'm not going to hold you. I know you got other things to do.
Yeah. Oh, Rod, did you just,
And
Rod, is that you? Did you want to say something?
Yes, my name's Arita, so I'd like to ask a quick question. So do you guys do the webinars pretty consistently, or is it something that's going to be scheduled pretty often, or?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we host monthly strategy roundtable calls and monthly webinars as well on a bunch of different topics. Actually, there's a webinar Monday the 19th, that's next Monday, that kind of builds on this, and it's focused on leveraging your awards and recognitions. So if there is something that you're looking to highlight from your business that you've accomplished in the past year, and Taya suggested that we all kind of reflect on the past year. So if there's something that comes up for you that you would like to celebrate, or you're not quite sure how to put out there for your audience, we'll learn a little bit about that on Monday. So we do, yeah, we host these regularly as well as kind of more traditional webinars.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello?
Hi, Rod.
Hey, how you doing, Laura? I've been sort of
Good.
on the wall because I really was trying to absorb the information, but I appreciate everybody's input and insight. I learned a lot. I really didn't have too much to add other than I'll try to continue to participate and learn, and appreciate everybody's knowledge, and Tara and Bonnie and yours insight. I learned a lot.
Thank you for sharing.
That's a superpower, right? The willingness to learn.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess there you go. Just willing to sit and listen.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, Taya, again, thank you so much. I'm actually going to start a discussion in iConnect about, who's your inner superhero. I would love to hear that from other people. So if you're thinking about it and you didn't jump in today, we'll start a discussion on iConnect and can keep the conversation going there.
That's great. Well, everyone, go be amazing. Continue doing what you do. Thank you for sharing with me today. And I look forward to continuing to engage you in Enterprise online.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
All right,
Thank
Have a
you.
good day.
Thanks.
Thank you.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.